And you've spent a lot of time in Atlanta, obviously, and obviously Coca-Cola has played a major role in the city's emergence as an international center. I was wondering how you see that role currently and evolving into the future. What role does Coke play in building Atlanta as an international center?
Well, I think the role that it's always played, and certainly has played to a major degree over the last 3 decades in terms of the future, and that is being part of the internationalization of Atlanta. And Atlanta is more and more becoming a global city. People come here and say, well, it's very difficult to meet someone who was born in Atlanta. People have come from everywhere, obviously within the U.S., but also from everywhere else. And I think being part of that is a major piece of it. And then, the involvement in civil society here. Muhtar's involved. I re-engaged with Atlanta. I was chairman of the Atlanta Committee for Progress. I worked closely with Shirley Franklin. So I think that level of engagement is also very important. But just as important is that engagement right throughout the organization. I mean, and if you look at just about every single major NGO, symphony, whatever it is, you'll see Coca-Cola people who are involved. So that level of community involvement is very important. It's not just that corporate piece. It's actually more the intellectual capital and human piece.
Well, I also think it's interesting around the world. Do you find that there's an association between Coke and Atlanta as you've traveled?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And of course, CNN has helped as well, no question. And to a lesser degree, the likes of Delta. But Coke and Atlanta do go together in terms of the story. But CNN is saying from Atlanta every day. I think that's really helped Atlanta.
And you're in living overseas, having all these varied cultural experience in your career, and living in many different cities. What do you see as the challenges to Atlanta advancing its reputation in the international community?
Well, I actually think Atlanta's in a very good place. I really do. And I think one of the keys has been the airport, and of course we're going to have the new terminal opening, which I think was very necessary, because the existing situation doesn't speak well of Atlanta, but that's going to get solved. That's great. I think what we need to do is to be able to get more intellectual capital on a global basis. I mean, we've certainly got the new World Affairs Council, which is part of that. We've got the work that comes out of the likes of the Carter Center. We've got obviously we're going to have the new Civil and Human Rights Museum. But I think we need to get more of an international focus. Now, CARE helps us with regard to that. CDC helps us with regard to that. But the more that we can, there are other examples, the more that we can build upon that, that I think is what's needed to build Atlanta, because it is, the future is going to be about intellectual capital, and therefore the university system is hugely important. And I think the one thing that I would really point to, maybe two things, I think there's some infrastructure improvements, but the most important one that I think is education. And I think obviously there's a major issue with the schools at the moment. That needs to get fixed. That's absolutely crucial to the future of Atlanta, in my view.